Welcome back. Patreon.com/, the Derrick Lamon Experience, your one-stop shop for your gaming news. Of course, this is the Week in Gaming. This releases on Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m., exclusive to Patreon, paid Patreon subscribers. And then it goes to the free feeds and then public Patreon on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Shout out to Hovain. Rest in peace to Hovain Hilton. Sorry, just watching something on YouTube and I noticed Hove out in the corner there, and it's sad. He was one of those real dudes in this hip hop thing of ours. But anyway, of course, again, this is the Week in Gaming. I was worried this is gonna be a short show because there wasn't much news, or I just wasn't finding it on the feed. And then after I'm eating dinner and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know that. Excuse me, this happened, this happened, this happened. So we had a few, little stories to go over really quick with you guys. Of course, we like to start off with this top of the show grain of salt. We don't always have rumors, but today we do have one. It seems that Sony is rumored to be showing Wolverine very soon, likely at the Game Awards. Of course, the Game Awards, if you're listening on Patreon, the Game Awards will be the file. If you're listening, Saturday afternoon on Patreon, the Game Awards will be Thursday the 12th. If you're listening to this on the free feeds, when it drops on Monday, well, you just got to wait a couple of days. I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do this, if I'm going to stream the show or if I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it and not treat it like work. But it is work because I will be covering it to a certain extent. I don't know. But I'm trying to figure that out. But when I do, I will let you guys know somehow. Anyway, I don't know. It's interesting because there's been a lot of 30th anniversary stuff for Sony because the PlayStation came out 30 years ago today, in Japan first, and there's all this 30 stuff like the update they pushed to the console. It sucks that it's only available for a limited time, but they pushed this update to where your PlayStation restarts and it has the chime, like the startup from the original PlayStation. It gives you the Sony Computer Entertainment logo and then the PlayStation, red, blue, the PS logo. And it's like, oh my God. And then you can go in and change like the theme on your dash to the OG PlayStation or the PlayStation 2 with all the blocks and stuff, or the PlayStation 3, or the PlayStation 4, or you can leave it standard the way it is on the PlayStation 5. I just think it's absolutely incredible that they did this. And I just realized I've only done it on one of my PlayStation 5s. I actually have two of them, so I'm going to do it on the other one so I can experience that again because it was just absolutely joyful. And it took me back to a place of nostalgia. And I really needed that at the moment because of things that have been happening lately within my life. But it would be nice to see Sony have a pretty big presence at the Game Awards to show some stuff off, or even that video that they put out where they're just like thanking us as PlayStation fans and players with like you got Naughty Dog classic stuff in there, you got Death Stranding in there, you got a lot of stuff in there. Crash, Nathan Drake, uh, Ellie, Abby, Joel, et cetera, et cetera. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant, and it really touched on the heartstrings. And I've been kind of emotional lately. I'm not gonna lie because of some things that happened in my personal life, but it is what it is. But yeah, I just thought this was awesome. And whether or not they do show off Wolverine at the Game Awards, it'll come when it's ready. It'll come when it's ready. But it would be nice to see PlayStation have some sort of a presence at the Game Awards, considering it's the 30th anniversary, and a lot of people just got their 30th anniversary PS5 Pros in, and the box that it comes in, where it's got like an etching of the original PlayStation on the box top, and then on the other four sides, it's got the PS2, PS3, PS4, and then the PS5. I just thought that was brilliant. Sony's really great with packaging; they always have been. The most standard, like nondescript box of any of the PlayStation consoles, of course, is the PlayStation 2. It's just the blue box that says PS2 on it, right? But the PlayStation 1, like, even during the 30th anniversary, like the standard PS5, not even the Pro, but the standard 30th anniversary with the like original PlayStation packaging, like that was what made everybody go crazy. And then having the little wire covers that make it look like uh, the OG PlayStation. So everybody went crazy for those. A lot of people like this is pointless and nobody needs this and blah 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 for $700. This is not needed. And then when they showed the 30th anniversary, everybody's like, well, $700 really isn't that bad of a price. So it's been fun to watch everything. And I'm sure, I know with Sony, this isn't the last thing. And they've been doing some interviews. We're going to get to that a little later. But I think that we have more stuff coming before the end of the year as far as um, just like 30th anniversary stuff. So again, congratulations to PlayStation. It would be nice if they did show off Wolverine, but don't hold your breath. Um, Speaking of our console makers, this article apparently came out today. I think it was in The Verge, and this is very, very interesting. Microsoft and Google are fighting over the future of Xbox. A legal battle could sway Microsoft's mobile plans. In October, it became very clear that Microsoft and Google were at war. Hmm, did they really cut me from reading the article? You got to be kidding me. Wow. So The Verge is making people subscribe. Um, Again, in October, it became very clear that Microsoft and Google were at war again after a 6-year truce on legal battles ended in 21. Google has in recent months been voicing its concerns about Microsoft's cloud business. The particular dispute is at the lobbying regulator stage, but another disagreement between the two tech giants has slipped into the courts. Microsoft revealed last week that it built a new Xbox game store for Android, but has been unable to launch it. The store relies on a key court ruling that will force sweeping changes to Google's Play Store, opening it up to competition and ending the requirement for apps. Oh, damn. So the rest of it is under this banner that I can't see. Let's see. Let's see if I can find this story anywhere else. Let's go to Video Game Chronicles. Uh, I can't see anything. I'm not finding anything. Let's see. Google. We'll type that in the VGC search box. Okay, so here it is. Um, Okay, in October, a U.S. judge issued a permanent injunction ordering Google to open its Android marketplace to competitors. The ruling, which is supposed to come into force this month, means Google will not be allowed to block the distribution of third-party Android app stores through Google Play. At the time, Bond promised that the ruling would mean that starting in November, players will be able to play and purchase Xbox games directly from the Xbox app on Android. Excuse me. However, in a new thread post on Blue Sky on Wednesday, Bond claimed that while Xbox is ready to implement these new features, it's currently blocked from doing so. Bond says that because Google requested an emergency stay, essentially pausing the ruling to give it time to appeal, a ruling that it says threatens Google Play's ability to provide a safe and trusted user experience. Xbox can't add its promised features until this is lifted. Quoted Xbox, we want to offer players more choice on how and where they play, including being able to play and buy games directly from the Xbox app, Bond wrote on Blue Sky. I recently shared our ambition to block these features first, to unlock these features first with the Google Play Store on Android devices in the U.S., while other app stores adapt to meet the consumer demand. Due to a temporary administrative stay recently granted by the courts, we are currently unable to launch these features as planned. Our team has the functionality built and ready to go live as soon as the court makes a final decision. We are eager to launch and give more choice and flexibility to players. However, in a statement given to The Verge, Google appears to challenge Bond's version of the events, claiming nothing is stopping Xbox from adding the features it's promised. Quote, Microsoft has always been able to offer their Android users the ability to play and purchase Xbox games directly from their app. They've simply chosen not to, Google spokesperson Dan Jackson claimed. The court's order and rush to force its implementation threaten Google Play's ability to provide a safe and secure experience. Microsoft, like Epic, are ignoring these very real security concerns. We remain focused on supporting an ecosystem that works for everyone, not just two of the largest game companies. October's ruling was the most significant development yet in Epic Games' long running antitrust lawsuit against Google. Before it was appealed, the ruling stated that from November 1st, for a 3-year period in the U.S., Google would, quote, not be allowed to pay developers to launch apps first or exclusively through the Play Store, be barred from offering manufacturers or carriers incentives to pre install Google Play or not to pre install rival stores on new devices. Now, be able to force app makers to use Google Play billing, not be allowed to require a developer to set a price based on whether Google Play is used. That a lot of stuff like that is happening at Apple too. Every time, I always tell people, if you're gonna subscribe to something like Disney Plus or Netflix or any of that stuff, go to the website. Do it from a computer. Do it from the company's website first. then download the app and just sign in. Because if you download the app from the Apple App Store, they're then gonna make you subscribe through there, and then that's how you wake up in the morning and $7.99 is gone for your account or $10.99 because Apple came through in the middle of the night like a thief and took money. A lot of people are locking their cards when they go to bed now because Apple does shit like this. Um, and again, not be able to restrict developers from pointing users to external payment options outside of the Play Store. Xbox has been talking for some time about launching a mobile app store, with the head of gaming Phil Spencer stating last year that Microsoft was already preparing for the date at which this could be legally possible. So I don't really have much to say on that, except they are fighting a hell of a war. I will say that, and I've never owned an Android. I've had every iPhone ever since the second iPhone, and that goes back quite a ways, like 2008 or 9 or something like that. So I don't know anything about the Android situation or anything like that. But I mean, here we are. Here we are. I don't know what their plan is, how they're gonna get around this, or if they can get around it. But I don't know. It seems like that. I don't know. This is a legal thing, and that's way out of my jurisdiction. I'm just gonna let it go right there. So it is what it is. In other news, this is something we never like to really report on, but there are some layoffs. So I guess this is cutting of a decent amount of staff. This comes from Illfonic CEO Charles Brungard, CEO and co-founder of the studio. Quote, today we have to accept the harsh reality that the state of the industry has impacted us here at Illfonic. It is with the heaviest of hearts that cuts to our teams had to be made today as we realign to a refined strategy. There is a lot of talent in this group, and if you or your team is hiring, please reach out so people can be connected to open roles. This has been going on for quite some time. I think that people don't understand how much um no way, that can't be right. Wow. Okay, so Raphael Sadiq of the Tony founded Illphonic. That can't be. That's crazy. It is. Wow, I did not know that. That's interesting. Anyway, they did the Friday the 13th game, um, the Killer Clowns game, Predator Hunting Grounds. They've done all that stuff. So, COVID really impacted the industry. I know a lot of people point to a lot of the layoffs on the Microsoft side as a result of the acquisition and things like that. I'm not here to place any blame or anything like that. That's some backroom um stuff that's way above my pay grade. I don't work for Microsoft. I don't have the inner workings or anything like that. I don't want to be one of those people. My sources say I don't have any sources. My sources are Video Game Chronicle, IGN, et cetera, et cetera. Digital Foundry, whoever the fuck, right? I don't have like a mole on the inside of Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo, or PC Gamer or anything like that, right? Um, but the pandemic obviously affected the industry, the way the games are being developed, and the development time is affecting things. Illphonic's a bit different considering, from my understanding, there's a situation where they weren't there was an issue with the license for Friday the 13th, and that caused some issues. And also, I remember being one of the people that crowdfunded that game to help to get that game done, and we never got the campaign mode. There was supposed to be a campaign, and it never came. And it's like, then I'm sitting here and like, was that ever really a campaign? Because why would you launch the multiplayer first? And I remember the day it was supposed to launch, we couldn't even find it in the store. Me and my little brother are like having issues. I'm like, do you know where it is? He's like, no, I can't find it. I was like, no fucking luck. No luck whatsoever. Shout out Easy, by the way. So it sucks. Um, this is the industry though, but we're still facing a lot of stuff business wise that's fucked up as a result of COVID. And I really want people to understand that. And I'm not just saying that to make up excuses like, well, it's probably because of COVID. No, that the pandemic really fucked some stuff up. It really, really did. So I don't know. In other news, we have review scores for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I actually just pre-installed it on my Xbox Series X last night, so I cannot wait to play this game next week. VGC gave it 5 out of 5. Eurogamer 5 out of 5. Games Radar 5 out of 5. Gaming Trend 9.5. I'm guessing out of 10. IGN 9 out of 10. GameSpot 9 out of 10. Shack News 9 out of 10. Gaming Vault 9 out of 10. Game Rant 8 out of 10. CGM 7.5. Noisy Pixel 7. Pure Xbox 6. Windows Central 4.5 out of 5, The Gamer 4 out of 5, and PC Magazine 3.5 out of 5. It is sitting at the time of recording a 85 on Metacritic and 86 on OpenCritic. The shitty thing about this looks like it's going to be like a big title for Machine Games and Microsoft, and because it's coming next week, the same week of the Game Awards, obviously the nominations are out, so it's obviously not eligible. It's not going to be at the show unless there's like a trailer or something like that. So it's missing this year. By the time we get to the Game Awards next year, it may be, you know, long forgotten because we're expecting some big things. Like, you got to remember, Grand Theft Auto 6, as of right now, is still set to launch in 2025. Mafia the Old Country, some other stuff is supposed to be coming next year. I don't know if Wolverine's actually going to come, but some other shit is coming next year. So by the time this game, like we get to the award season next year, it may be forgotten, which is going to suck because it seems like this is a really big game for Microsoft and it's a labor of love. And if you're an Indiana Jones fan, this is right up your alley. Apparently, the opening of the game, and I don't want to spoil this, but I was scrolling, and it was spoiled for me. Um, you get to replay the Raiders of the Lost Ark opening, like where he's got the idol and the bag of sand, like, and that's a young Alfred Molina. You get to replay that, and I was like, "What is this? Did they just recreate this just because the game is coming out?" And they're like, "No, you get to replay this," and I'm like, "Holy shit!" So I cannot wait to play this game. Gonna be a couple days here. Can't wait for that. But yeah, it sucks because the scores look good. I'm hearing good things, and because it's coming out, like, I just don't know. Why would you release a game right now? They'd have been better off just pushing it into the beginning of next year. I don't know. I would have pushed it to the beginning of next year. But with all the stuff that's supposed to come, if two of the big games make it to actually be released next year, and I'm saying Grand Theft Auto 6 and Mafia the Old Country, if those games are released and they are what we expect them to be, I think that people are going to forget about this, which sucks because I loved Indiana Jones and I've been waiting for this game. Um, I think they kind of screwed the pooch on the release. A lot of people say, well, they wanted to get out of the way of Call of Duty. It's a different game. Call of Duty is going to do its numbers regardless. Like, I just did my Xbox end of the year review, and Call of Duty was my second highest played game of the year, right? So it's going to do its numbers regardless. And remember, Call of Duty just came out not too long ago, and it's already my second highest played game of the year. So what does that tell you? Um, the PlayStation review is next week, and I can't wait to see. I kind of know what my top games are going to be, but I can't wait to see like how many trophies I, got in 2024 and stuff like that, and how many hours total I played. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, congrats to Machine Games, Bethesda, ZeniMax, and Microsoft Gaming. This looks like it's going to be a really, really good game, and I can't wait to jump in it. Let's see. I kind of want to save that. Yeah, I'll save that. Okay, so Lies of P DLC is apparently coming in the first quarter of 2025 as developer confirms the next game. The team behind Lies of P are working on a sci-fi title as well as a sequel. Publisher NeoWiz also stated that the developer Round 8 Studio is working on a new IP as well as the previously announced sequel to Lies of P. The new game will be a survival horror project set in a sci-fi world. Speaking on the next title, a statement from NeoWiz reads, quote, "It's still too early to disclose the progress of the project, and it's one of the PC and console games that Round 8 Studio is preparing. While little information about the DLC has been announced and the new announcement hasn't provided a more solid release date, the game's director did provide an update earlier this year. Quote, for the DLC of Lies of P and the sequel, we aim to do better on what we did well and improve in areas we have room to grow," Ji-Wan Choi said. "It might sound simple, but I think sticking to the basics in anything is anything but easy. Thankfully, I have amazing colleagues in whom I can place my full trust." Developers NeoWiz and Round 8 Studio had previously confirmed that both the new DLC and a full sequel to the game were in development at the same time. Lies of P, of course, was released last year, 2023, for Xbox One, PS4, PS5, and PC via Steam, and was also available on Xbox Game Pass at launch. Having garnered scores of 80 on the PS5, 83 PC, and 84 on Xbox Series X and S, On a review aggregation site Metacritic, the game sold over 1 million copies during its first month of availability, according to NeoWiz. So again, congrats to them. I really wanted to like that was the one I was really banking on because I'm not a fan of the Souls genre. Um, it was all right, but again, it's a Souls game and it doesn't do anything for me. I didn't I they're not for me. I've tried them all. They're not for me. Everybody's like, no, do Elden Ring. That's the one you're gonna love. And I'm like, no, because I got to tell you, number one, I am not a fan of George R. R. Martin's writing. So, like, I don't care for Game of Thrones or The House of Dragon or anything. And he did this, so I know I'm not gonna like this. I'm just being completely honest with you. Like, I don't want to shit or rain on the guy's parade. It's not for me. Point blank. Period. I love Back to the Future, and a bunch of people fucking hate that. So, what do you want me to do? I know that's a weird analogy, Derek. It is, but it is what it is. Like I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. I just don't care for the Souls genre. Point blank period. Everybody's like, "Well, you're a pony. I know you're gonna love it if Sony buys From Software." Well, I actually am part of every ecosystem. If they buy From Software, so fucking what? I don't like the Souls genre. This does nothing for me, and I don't own stock in Sony. So there's that as well. I don't know. Anyway, the fuck am I? What do I know? Um, this was very interesting. Everybody touched on it, so I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. I'm not going to put too much into this, but the Horizon lookalike Light of Motoram seems to have Sony's blessing. Horizon like open world game Light of Motoram is headed to the PS5 alongside PC and mobile devices, Tencent has announced. Following its reveal last week, Light of Motoram was called a quote Horizon clone, with some expecting Sony to take legal action, but the company was spotted giving the game a warm welcome on its console. It's headed to PS5 in 2025. It will be a free to play game. As spied by Gamatsu, PlayStation's official Chinese accounts on Weibo and Bibly not only announced the news, but also shed light of Motoram's gameplay, indicating that Sony's more than happy to allow PS5 players to step into the Chinese mechanical ruled open world. Um, in addition to previously announced information, has been confirmed that Light of Motoram is a free to play co op multiplayer game that'll launch in 2025. Crossplay will be supported at launch. Quote, team up with 10 players to tackle daunting challenges together, reads an official description. No matter where you are, embark on adventures with your friends anytime and enjoy a seamless gaming experience. I tell you what, we know that Horizon multiplayer is in development. I can see why Sony would allow them to just cook with this, because this could give you a nice idea of how the public is going to respond to something like this, because it's basically just a copy of Horizon. And with this is free to play and it's multiplayer, teams of up to 10. Sony's probably sitting back like, we're going to let them test the market for this game and we don't have to pay, for I mean, they could do focus groups and test groups and stuff like that. And they probably still will, I would imagine, because they spent millions upon millions in R&D on this game. But what happens here with this game launching soon, it'll tell them what the market is for this Horizon multiplayer at bare minimum. So, I don't know. As I was speaking earlier, there's a big Sean Layden interview out there. I have two parts of it. Again, that it is the 30th anniversary of the PlayStation. So, Sean Layden says Sony felt lucky to have survived the PS3 struggles. Out of the 5 PlayStation generations, the PlayStation 3 is arguably where Sony struggled the most. Its unique architecture with the cell processor, along with its high price point, for the time were not the best combination, especially around those launch years. In a recent interview, former PlayStation boss Sean Layden gave some insight on these struggles during that generation. In an interview with Eurogamer, Layton described the PS3 generation as Sony's Icarus moment. With the success of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, its third iteration had to be even better. This led to the company using proprietary tech, most notably the cell processor. While PlayStation's first-party titles reaped the benefits, third parties were left behind and it was costly. A lot of lessons were learned, which paid off with the PS4. Quote, PS3 was Sony's Icarus moment. We had PS1, PS2, and now we're building a supercomputer, and we're going to put Linux on it, which nobody used. Nobody I know anyway. And I know a lot of nerds, because I'm one of them. We're going to do all these sorts of things, says Layden. We flew too close to the sun, and we were lucky and happy to have survived the experience, but it taught us a lot. Quote, we also learned that the center of the machine has to be gaming, Layden continues. It's not about whether I can stream movies or play music. Can I order a pizza while I'm watching TV and play? No, just make it a game machine. Just make it the best game machine of all time. Not for nothing, the PlayStation 3 was well ahead of its time. Well ahead of its time. The government bought a ton of them to create a supercomputer. Blu-ray, it bought Blu-ray to the party, more space on Blu-ray discs. So there's something. Um, I mean, the Xbox 360 came to market a year before the PlayStation 3, and it had an internal hard drive. So there's that. But also the Xbox 360, if you got the nicer version, you got wireless controllers and the hard drive. But the PlayStation 3 had an SD card reader, USB drives. Like I still wish I wish I still had my launch PS3. My apartment was broken into, and they got that, and they got my PS3 Slim. But that piano black finish, I loved it. The PlayStation 3 for me felt like the first real elegant piece of tech I ever owned. I think, and then I got like my iPod after that, and my MacBook after that, and stuff like that. But that was like, well, the first piece of elegant technology that I had to pay for myself, right? I bought my PS2 myself. My parents bought my first PlayStation. My sister bought my Nintendo 64. My PS2 I paid for. My PS3 I paid for. My PSP I paid for. But that PS3, I remember like my TV was really, really nice. 50 inches, LCD, HD. I remember it like and it had like this glass shelf, and I remember sitting my PlayStation 3 next to my Xbox 360 on it, and then also sitting my Nintendo Wii down there, and I was like, I've made it. And I didn't have a kid yet. I didn't have any real responsibilities except for paying my own bills. So I felt it was a real I made it moment. But it was ahead of its time. Um, Layton also remarked how it took a very long time for PS3 hardware to be profitable. He mentioned Sony's vision for the cell processor and the hopes for it to go off platform and become a competitor in the CPU market. However, that did not happen, which made a pretty negative impact. In comparison, he says the PS4 launch was pretty much a non-loss product from day one, but the early days of the PS4 not great. So there's a lot more to the Sean Layton interview, and it is on Eurogamer. The big PlayStation 30th anniversary interview with Sean Layden. It was a fight to get the Sony name on the machine. They didn't want to be associated with it. We'll all make this stuff up as we go along together. So this is from Eurogamer's week-long coverage of PlayStation's 30th anniversary, beginning today with a special interview and extended conversation looking back behind the scenes of PlayStation's original launch, how the brand became a breakout success despite established competition, its Icarus moment in the PS3 era, and then its ongoing battle for industry dominance. What's your first memory of PlayStation? You were already working at Sony at the time. What was your reaction to it? What was the idea of a game console? Was the idea of a game console taken seriously? Layton says, when PlayStation launched, I was still with corporate back at Sony headquarters where I've been since 1987. I was attached to the office of the chairman, Aiko Morita, the founder of Sony. I was his assistant, speechwriter, ghostwriter, interlocutor when I had to be, and we were watching all that from afar, so to speak. But I remember having a presentation early on where they brought the PlayStation prototype to the chairman's office, and we got to see what they were building. I remember back in mid 94 before the launch, standing up in a boardroom and playing Ridge Racer and going, oh my God, this is going to be fucking amazing. And it was. I remember the first time playing Racer on the PlayStation. In the early days, the PlayStation Underground, they offered demo discs, and I had one that had like NHL 96 or 97, whatever, Ridge Racer, Tekken, um, Game Day, Game Breaker. Game Day was NFL, Game Breaker was college football, and some other stuff on there. And I thought Ridge Racer was the most incredible thing. I was like, this is insane. And then my mind was really blown when I played Gran Turismo. Um, Within Sony, I think a lot of the leadership at the time didn't take it seriously. They thought, "Oh my God, Sega, Nintendo own this thing." Quote the console industry. You think Sony's going to come in sideways and try to divvy that thing up into three-piece pie? It was a fool's errand, and I think some might have even called it at the time. But then Sony president Noriogo Ahagasan was a believer. A lot of people thought we were taking a risk. It was a fight to get the Sony name onto the machine. They didn't want to be associated with it. He says, you moved over to PlayStation Division specifically pretty soon after. How did that happen? I joined PlayStation specifically in '96 when they were a year into it. They'd already launched in North America and in Japan. Sadly, the chairman had suffered a stroke, so that position was no longer required, and the president of PlayStation at the time was a guy named Terry Takanaka. We'd worked together on acquisition of Columbia Pictures, so I was kind of a known quantity. After the chairman's death, Terry asked me, "What are you going to do now? Why don't you come and join us in the new company, Sony Computer Entertainment?" I said, "Okay, that's great. What would I do there?" He said, "You'd be a video game producer." I said, "I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about making video games," and Terry was very upfront. He said, "It's all right. None of us do either. This is the perfect time to get in. We'll all make this stuff up as we go along together." And Sean Layden was amazing for PlayStation. Let me just say that. What was it actually like working inside PlayStation back then? Talk about baptism by fire, Layden says. I was walking around trying to get to know people in my first week, and my boss comes up and says, "Hey, are you going to E3? Because that's next week." I said, "Do you want me to go to this E3? He said, "Yes, I should go." "Great," I say before finding a colleague. "What the hell is E3? I didn't have business cards. I landed in LA in 1996, going to E3 after only being in the company for 10 days. If you want total immersion in the game business as a neophyte, getting dropped into E3 on day 10, you either catch on really quick or you get rolled over by the Leviathan. You just have to run faster than the slowest bear, as they say." So this is a really good interview. Do they have Oh, okay. PlayStation faced established competition. Nintendo, this is the last part I'm going to go over. Nintendo, Sega were already giants of the console world. How did Sony decide it was going to take them on? Layton says, obviously, we were going to build, or rather, we built an optical drive peripheral for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo realized cartridges had already maxed out their memory footprints, and so we, or rather, Ken Kutaragi, created the compact disc technology to support the NES. Ken Kutaragi is the father of the PlayStation, just if you guys are wondering. And we were just about ready. I think it was a CES Computer Entertainment Show. This is true. This is how PlayStation was born. I've told this story a few times on this podcast. If you've never heard it, pay very, very close attention. We were going to announce the partnership, and Nintendo left us standing at the altar after they did a pivot at the last minute and went with Philips. And Sony was heated, and their plan was to take Nintendo down after this. Layton goes on to say more, but that's just my, sentiments. So there was Ken proverbially standing at the altar with his optical disc drive in his hands and indignant. He went back to the leadership at Sony at the time and said, "All I need is an OS and some more connecting tissue for this thing, and we can build our own game machine." We moved out of Sony's headquarters to a place in Ioma, which is about 20 miles away, more in the entertainment district of Tokyo, because they felt that was important to the DNA of the company and was probably the best decision the company made. How so? Layton says when they decided they were getting into the gaming business, they knew they had technology and engineers, but they said, "Hey, let's be honest, we sell electronics." So Sony knew that without entertainment DNA, we would not be successful. So the initial stage was made a joint venture between Sony Electronics and Sony Music. Half of the company was from the music side, and well, you could see it on the shop floor at 8 a.m. All the hardware engineers were at their desk wearing their Sony vest, working on their Sony engineering thing. And then around 10 through 11, all the Sony music guys would come in, hungover, sunglasses, cigarettes hanging out of their mouths. They'd look at the Nakai paper for 45 minutes, drink a cup of tea, and then go, "All right, lunch." They'd all stand up, they'd all leave. This is hilarious. We wouldn't see them again for the rest of the day because Sony Music populated sales, marketing, advertising, publisher relations. So those were the guys who would go out with the people at Square and ply them with whiskey until the wee hours of the morning to finally get Final Fantasy VII off Nintendo and on the PlayStation. There's a bit more of that. Final Fantasy VII, which is my favorite it's my favorite video game of all time. Fuck it. Um, they had already started making tech demos for it to run on Nintendo hardware. When Nintendo got to the Nintendo 64, and the original title of it was Ultra 64, um, they decided they were going to stick with cartridges, which were more expensive. CDs were very inexpensive, and it cost, I think, like pennies on the dollar to actually make a CD back in that time, right? Um, CDs also held more memory. This game, it took 3 discs for it to launch on the PlayStation 1, on the original PlayStation. I actually have a copy. It's over on my shelf on my other desk. Um, 3 discs to fit the whole game. If they had stuck with Nintendo and put it on cartridge, it probably, let's see. There's got to be, let's just see if Google knows. How many N64 cartridges would it take to hold FF7? Somebody else has asked this. There's a whole Reddit thread. Uh, that thread is way too long. Huh. Okay. Okay, so when you convert it to ISO files and stuff like that, it takes up less storage. Essentially, they're just saying that because it fits on a regular 2 gigabyte cartridge, apparently. Okay, so essentially, they're just saying that it was cheaper to go with CDs. So I don't know. There's a school of thought behind that, and there's like a whole argument and stuff like that. And I don't want to get into it because there's no point. It's not my game. Like it's my game, but it's not like my game. I don't own anything. Like I have it on Nintendo Switch. I have it for the original PlayStation. I have the PlayStation Mini Classic that came out a couple years ago, and that it's on there. I have it on when they re-released it on PlayStation 4 before the remake came out. I have it on PlayStation. I have that one. I have it on PC. I had it on the PS Vita. I have it on Xbox. Like anywhere, the only place that I don't currently own Final Fantasy VII is the iOS version, which I don't know why I don't because I have my iPad Pro and I should probably definitely go ahead and put it on there. And I'm probably going to end up doing that within the week or so. So, anyway, no. Anyway, they would be out drinking whiskey until the wee hours of the morning to finally get Final Fantasy VII off Nintendo and on the PlayStation. When that announcement was made, that was the really oh my god moment. Sony's really serious about this now, and that's down to music, guys. The dogness of just trying to get a deal over the line. They were amazing. Well, the big decisions were made early on that helped PlayStation get a foothold. Layden says we had the optical technology and games were all on Flash ROM at the time, so that was a huge leap. ROM cards were $8 to $10 a pop to get blanks, and then you had to get them Flash, usually in Taiwan or in Hong Kong, which mean lead times of 6 to 8 weeks to get stock refilled. Optical discs were $1, and throw in you'd have a minimum amount. You could just pop 10,000 out and throw them in the marketplace. If it catches fire, call me on Thursday. I can refill you by Tuesday. The momentum really changed the business model of that. Sony deliberately never had more than 22% of first party software share. On the Sega platforms, the Nintendo first party had 80 to 85, 90% of the software market, but we also always knew PlayStation would only be successful if we made if we made it quote the people's platform. It's for third parties to come make a business. We'll come in, we'll get you, 25% typically at launch. The share is higher because we put all the bets on the new games, but over time, the real leaders in the marketplace as far as revenue and share goes over the Activisions and the Take Twos and EA. Um, there's a lot. This is a really good article. I'm actually going to finish it on my own time. I will put a link to the article in the show notes so you guys can read it in depth if you would like to. But Sean Layden was one of my favorite guys at PlayStation. Um, I remember Sean coming out at E3. I remember he came out with the Crash Bandicoot T-shirt on, and then we got the Crash in Fur K, like the first three Crash games, and I have really really fond memories of Sean Layden at E3 and PlayStation Experience and stuff like that. Like I spent a lot of hours, and I still do go back on YouTube and watch those shows again. Sean Layden is a great guy, and I really miss him being at PlayStation. Whenever you saw Sean Layden, there was good news coming. That's all I'll say. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. We're gearing up. The business world is about to be closing down here for the holiday, wrapping up the fourth quarter and stuff like that. So the stories are slowing down. I don't know how much we'll have on next week's show, but I know I will recap the Game Awards. And again, I'll probably either stream it or I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know. Anyway, I'm going to end this like I end everything else. Of course, believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson, and that is my time. You guys have a good one. Peace out. Happy holidays.